Hello everyone, Star Ultros here, bringing you the update review coverage for this week's maintenance. So what we have today are 3 units and a couple of events, so let's get to it. The first unit is FF15's very own protagonist, so that's Chosen King of the Future, Noctis. First of all, his TMR I thought was actually it's pretty smart. It's the same as his 5-star unit Ring that we all used 1,000 times for the evade. So it's finally coming back with some evade and finally some attack stats on it, so you can use it on your DPS without feeling bad. His STMR is just regular 70% attack, some elemental resistance, and true double hand. Instead of dual wield, this one is a double-hander. His categories are light, lightning, ice, and wind in terms of elements. Also, he is a breaker as well, and he's obviously FF15, Blessing of the Crystals, Royal Arms, Saviors, and Sword Masters. The Sword Masters, the great new category that we don't have a leader for yet, but basically the entire cast of the games are in there. So one thing I noticed with his categories is actually that he shares a lot with Onion Knight, the recent tank that we've had. So all elements are the same. He also has Blessing of the Crystals, so he could be led by Onion Knight. I thought it was just a little something to to mention here. Not necessarily that it makes like that it's going to be the best comp to be using, but it's there, you know. Vision card, let's not talk about it. As usual, is the same. His EX ability materia, when you get him to EX3, is a 500 attack for Royal Arms. As we know, Noctis is usually the leader for these things. We're going to look at his leader skill later. In terms of equipment, he covers a lot of things, so he's going to be very easy to gear with whatever you're going to give him. So he can use the Great Sword, yes. So the Dark Vision's Great Sword, so that's probably going to be what you're gonna. That's probably going to be what he's equipped. So his big draw that makes him different from other units is actually only obtainable at EX2, and that's his Elemental Burst, which is a 200% amplify for light for himself. So you're really going to want to have him at EX2 if you got him. And obviously along the way he's going to get the 500% like all the other units. In terms of his kit, he's a little similar to Cloud. So he doesn't have any elemental chain that you want to use and power up like other recent units. He does have some utility. Well, also one thing you're going to notice is he's going to fill his LB with each and every one of his moves. So he's just going to have one off turn, one LB turn, one off turn all the time, which is great. So he has some utility with 2 times Mirage for the team. He is, as we said, a breaker like Cloud. So 85% attack and magic, 89% for defense and spirit, 160 to all his elements, and a sword resistance for 40%. Unfortunately, it's also that clunky 7-turn cooldown, so you're going to want to bring another friend Noctis if you want to keep it up for an entire fight. Else, well, you just use it a turn or 2 before the kill, and you'll be fine. He also has this pretty interesting Weapon in Peril Magnus ability. So that's basically every meta weapon, plus some that aren't meta at all. And fortunately, fists are missing. But you have Dagger, Sword, Great Sword, Katana, Staff, Rod, Bow, Axe, Spear, Throwing Weapon, and Mace. Let's forget this even exists. But you know, that's pretty good, so you won't have to bring, say, a Riku on the team just to take care of that, or a Yuffie, because he can take care of it himself like a big boy. He also has a Human and Reaper Killer, 200% for himself and for a friend, which has been a trend for now, so you can give it to himself and a friend for most of the DPS units lately. Another one of his big draw, his field. So he has an Imperil field for light, 50%. So if you pair him up with Hero, was it Hero Reborn, I think now? because he's released on global. Well, he's going to be released on global this week. So Hero Reborn Tyvus. You can get a 250% imperil for light, which is very high for a meta element. So that's pretty nice. And he's got also a hide ability for 1 turn to recover his MP, which is on brand with his the mechanics of the game, Final Fantasy 15. If ever you've played, you just teleport away. You're on the lamppost and you watch the battlefield while you recover. And then he has a Magnus for 100% amplify for himself for ice, lightning, wind, and light. If you don't have him at EX2, or once you're done with the other amplifiers, if the fight goes longer. In terms of passives, the usual thing. However, he is a premium unit, I believe, I think all main characters are getting that. So he has 200% killer innately to all races. So that's pretty nice. He's going to be very easy to gear. Other than that, he has the preemptive break like Cloud, so 145 to all his elements and 87% to defense. And he also has the preemptive buff for all killers, 100%, some attack buff and some LB damage buff, which are rarely going to be relevant. But if ever you go for 1-turn KOs, that's nice. Now, his leader skill is a really, really good one. So it's 1250 to both Royal Arms and Saviors. So he can mix and match a little bit the categories, like Lucio, who had... was it Lucio? I think so. Anyway, you can mix and match without any penalty to have both of these categories together. Well, there's still going to be some penalties, but nothing in terms of leader skill. He's also an overdrive unit, so his overdrive is, that's the first of its kind, but it's a little bit like Tidus's, but his, instead of being straight up for an element, it is for Royal Arms. So when I said there would be some drawback at bringing Saviors along with them, well, there you go. So all the Royal Arms unit are going to get an extra 30% when he's EX1, getting an extra 30% damage, like the water category units would get 30% from Tidus. In terms of limit burst, there's a new mechanic. So if you look, he has a few different limit bursts here. The wiki actually did something pretty clean for a brand new mechanic. So kudos to the wiki team. That is amazing. You could make it work so easily, so quick. So we got 4 different LBs. So basically what happens is you're going to be able to switch the element for the LB you're going to use. So he only has 1 LB, but we don't exactly know how it's going to work out in the game. We haven't seen it yet. Once maintenance ends, we're going to go and see. But basically, you get to choose what element you want to use it on. So he's not locked to a single element. He's locked to all 4 of his elements. So he has a wind LB, he has a lightning LB, a light and an ice LB. And the damage is the same over all of them. So basically, with all the buffs, it's an 1100 times LB, which is very, very good. And he is also chaining, which Cloud doesn't do. So let's just say that he's better for that. So pretty neat unit. He also definitely brings upgrades. I don't think you should go crazy and waste all your money on him, unless you're a really big fan of Final Fantasy 15. By all means, go ahead. He is an upgrade. He is better, but then he doesn't bring bigger numbers in terms of LB damage. So it's going to be pretty much the same. So the one thing you want to have him for is the 200% amplify if he's EX2 and the 50% imperil field. Otherwise, he is kind of the same as all the other flavor units of the week. But he does have some other utility which are pretty nice. So a good unit overall. Now, Arden, the King's Avenger. So this one, in terms of TMR, that's rather meh. His STMR though, and now I am one that's pretty impressed with this one. So it's 80% attack. It's a materia, and it's killers for 4 different races. Obviously, we rarely have multiple race bosses. However, 100% killers are pretty rare, and it's a first for human, for fairies, and for reapers. So that's pretty good. And also, sometimes fairy killer is very hard to gear for, so it's pretty good to have better options for it. Insects already did have one with the Evil Queen Byalkua. Um, if you know this, well, if you defeated her, then you'd get your what was Sheraton, yeah, and Sheraton's EX2 would give you the her STMR, which was 100% insect killer. So that's pretty good. Honestly, very very good STMR. Get as many copies as you can. It's gonna help. It's gonna help gearing your allies for trials. Anytime you get some harder killers to gear for. In terms of categories, he has Dark, Fire, Ice, once again Breaker, but he's a different type. We'll see a little later. FF15, Royal Arms, Harbinger of Chaos, and Swordmaster is the category that everyone has. So a little more limited in what he has, but you can make him fit on a team with Noctis using Ice and being led with through Royal Arms. Otherwise, he is also a leader himself for Harbinger of Chaos. We're going to look at that a little later. Vision card, same as Noctis, we don't care. His EX ability is a 500 attack for Chaos Bringers, so that's for himself or Eject. The others don't really care about it because they're mages. Now, if we look at the rest of his kit, same equipment options as Noctis, as far as I can tell. So once again, Great Sword for him is going to work as well. In terms of his kit, the bulk of his kit is going to be available at EX1, so actually more accessible. He has a 200% Dark Imperil, and he also has 150 amp for everyone, so that's AoE for Fire, Ice, and Dark, so it's very good. So that's a unit that you don't need to go the elbow deep to into the banner to get some value out of it. If you get an EX1, you're good to go. Obviously, the damage is going to be better at EX2, but you got to start somewhere. Otherwise, what does he have in his kit? He is actually, yeah, it's a we haven't seen that in a while, so he's a Regina type unit, or the old Noctis unit also did that. So he has Quint Cast, which allows him to buff a move and then do the move for a big chunk of damage. So this, once fully powered up, is going to be a 9800 times modifier, which is on par with his LB, like a little bit less, but that's still very good. It's only a 5 hit, so you're not going to use that to chain. So that's the difference between both. But it is non-elemental, so you can imbue him and do whatever you want. Sky's the limit with him. Other than that, he does have some utility as well. So he also has a double stack Mirage for the team. He does fill his LB as well with the multicast, a little bit like Noctis, but his is only 10 times because he's going to cast everything 5 times. He does have Human, Reaper, and Insect Killer for himself, not Fairy, unlike the STMR. So just for himself, and he also has an AoE 160 for the team with Human Killer. He has here a break for defense and spirit, so a little bit like Titus, it's 89%, but it's also on a 7-turn cooldown, so he can't be your soul breaker for the fight. And it's 140 dark resistance, but he has the 200 on top when you want to go for the kill. He has a self evade for 4 stack while he's going to gain some MP back, so that's pretty nice. He has an dark resistance barrier for 3 turns, 100%, very very good. It's giving you more flexibility in gearing and team comps when you're going to go to Vision Worlds or Dark Visions and you don't want to bring a tank. Although most lazy people like me will bring a tank because Rain is very good anyway. But sometimes it's going to limit you in the team comps you can bring, or certain elements can't really accommodate Rain because he's not going to fit with the leader skill, whatever. And another good thing to mention about Arden, he has a Fire, Ice, and Dark Amplify field, 70%. So that is very good. and just in the wake of Lucio getting the first for fire. So no, you're not special anymore, Lucio. But it's good that it's now in the permanent pool for anyone to get if you didn't get Lucio, like me. I do have another. Once we get the Vision World, I still have one more step to do before the free step, and I stop at the free step. I learned my lesson with the with the limited collab banners. In terms of killers, he unfortunately doesn't have the same treatment as Noctis, so he's gonna be jealous and want to kill him or something. I don't really know the story of the game. He does have a single stack of guts, so that's pretty nice. He could have had more. Unfortunately, it's only one, but we'll take it. Other than that, his leader skill here, it's a little bit unfortunate. He is finally the Harbinger of Chaos leader that we've been waiting for to lead our SBB units. However, they're not the strongest units out there, but if you get him, then he's going to help you out in leading the team of those free units. So that's probably like more budget. And otherwise, for other units that aren't Harbinger of Chaos, it's 750, so it's not as good, unfortunately. But it's there. Will we be using it? Probably not. He's more going to be fitting in a team with Noctis. He's also an overdrive unit, and his overdrive is the same as Tita's, but for dark, so it's a 30% damage increase for anyone with the dark category. So once again, very good with the Harbinger team, because besides Vayne and Emperor, they're all dark, so it's all going to be good for them. His LB, once again, it is an AMOE chain for 1100, so on par with Noctis. Arden, very good unit, but unfortunate leader skill, I would say. It's good to lead the chaos units if you want to bring your SBB units for a walk. Go ahead, he's gonna lead them. And oh yeah, I kind of forgot to mention. So this one is the gacha version of Arden, but with this maintenance, if you kept updated, you heard that we're also getting the SBB version of Arden. So here is the kit for the other Arden. So that's the free one you're going to get from defeating the Awakened SBB. Well, not F. So SBB. That's the Arden you're going to get. This one, like Jack, has a limited TMR for himself. So selfish meh. And the STMR is also pretty much the same as usual for all the others. So it's cute, good, not really. He is a dark. He is a FF15 SBB unit, Royal Arms, Harbinger of Chaos, and Sword Master. So he is a little bit more limited in categories, but he's a Harbinger of Chaos. So there's that. He's going to give you an FF15 attack 500 Materia at EX3. So if you go and grind them all the way to EX3, well, you get that for your Noctis, for example. Once again, pretty much a copy and paste of equipment he can get. In terms of selection, he's going to get only stuff at EX2. He gets a refreshing Mirage, 3-stack Mirage for himself, which I guess can be useful, but then you got to make him your Provoker and hope the boss doesn't give any more than 3 attacks per turn. Otherwise, he gets also a modifier buff for his non-elemental chaining. Well, not just non-elemental chaining, but all his chaining abilities. He gets that at EX3 only, and it's it gives him 90% mitigation, which is really cool. But also it deals 90% HP damage to him before, and gives him a barrier after. And then he heals after all this if he survives the entire thing. But it's I guess it's cute. I don't know if that's any lore relevance because I haven't played Final Fantasy 15 myself, and I don't remember much of it because I have watched a playthrough, but I don't remember much. Otherwise, other than that, there's not really a lot to say about him, I would say. His non-elemental chaining is not really worth mentioning. Overall, it's going to be a 5,400 times modifier together, which doesn't really compare to any LBs. He has some stat buffs for 350% stat buff isn't bad. The 300% LB damage buff is good on longer fights, I guess. He has a sword, greatsword, and rod resistance imperil 50%, and he can give Fairy Killer 200% with a Magnus to himself and a friend. Those are both one use per battle. He has status break resistance, which is very, very nice. It's just a 3-turn on a 5-turn cooldown, sadly, but you know, if you know the boss's AI, then you can cover it with that. And he also has a fire, lightning, wind, and light resistance buff 80% for everyone. So that can also help you in getting more flexibility without having to, you know, put someone on carbuncle for the bar elements Ga duty. So that's good. Or, you know, like it's gonna, I say carbuncle, but I think carbuncle only has these two. So, well, anyway, you don't have to put someone Alexander or I want to say tetrasulfide for this one, I guess. Anyway, you get the gist. In terms of the rest of his kit, well, you know, the usual passives, he does have a guts, and he does have the usual passive for the SBB units, which is a permanent stat buff that he gets at the beginning of the fight. And his LB is a bolting strike chaining to go with the other SBB units mostly. Since they were all mostly mages, they're mostly bolting strike. And it's a 1030 times modifier. So high, it's the highest. Very good. So he's very strong. But you know, the team going behind him, maybe not that much. So the two Ardens, very good. Jack sadly can't really chain with them. That's the thing. I like when my units can chain their LBs. Anyway, so that was it for the units. Now in terms of events, what we're getting, so we're getting a Visions World for Final Fantasy 15. I think we've already gotten one. It's just a rerun of that. But honestly, I don't quite remember. I think that's just what I read. The final boss of it is Arden, so it's just a human again. So you're going to be fighting Arden a lot. So you just get in there, you kill the bosses, and you try your best against the final boss. We don't know. Well, I haven't looked at the elemental weaknesses for him yet, but I'm pretty sure he has limited elements that he's weak to. So you go in there, fight the fights, kill Arden once, just so you get your kill in for the rewards, and you're gonna get 10k lapis from there. Then here a farming event, so you can get another 2,000 lapis there, which is nice. And then you go excruciatingly to 300 event points and try to empty those boxes. Now this is the Blue Pearl farming event against Ifrit. Which I think this one's a fairy. So yeah, for Arden and for Noctis, so farming their pearls. This is a EX ability for the ND Plus units that you can go and farm. This one is, the categories are Royal Arms and Harbinger of Chaos. So I don't know if it's going to be limited to those or if it's going to be the mission to get the lapis. We're going to see. And of course, the final event is the Awakened SVB for fighting Arden. So this fight was mostly simple in the previous iteration. We'll see when we try the fight in a couple hours. Hopefully, it's, you know, they changed the fight a little bit because he could be a little bit trivialized. So probably we're going to do something to reduce the evasion with a field like they did with Jekt. Maybe he's going to drain our mana because, you know, they got to make him more threatening somehow. Otherwise, he was mostly using physical, if I remember correctly, and then he has 2 HP locks, which were a little annoying. And then he goes ham in the last 15% or so. So you just got to kill him quick. So we'll see how that goes when the maintenance ends in about 30 minutes. So good luck with your pulls if you pull, and see you in 10 days. Bye, everyone.